Hi there. I'm dusting this engine off to see if I can run it around for a bit. It's been on the shelf for a while. But just looking at this reminds me of a story from 1991. I went to the TCA convention in Chicago. I would have been 28 years old then. My hair was probably down to about here. And as a collector, when you go to these big train meets, the first 2 hours that's when all the deals go down. You run around buying trains that are underpriced that you can resell or keep at a great deal, or the real rare ones. It's the valuable time. And there was a guy came up to me, he was from Arizona, and he came up and he said, "Hey, did you see that 400 over there for $700?" And I said, "No, because I wouldn't even look at a repainted 400." And he said, "Would you look at it for me? Can you give me some advice?" And I'm like, I want to be running around buying stuff, but I also want to be polite. So I said, okay. And we walked over to where the train was. It was an engine like this, but it had nickel trim instead of the copper on this. I didn't keep any of the trains with the nickel trim. But anyway, I looked at the train. It had a note on it that said that it runs well, that the whistle works, and it was 700. It was repainted, reproduction frame on it. Back then, they weren't making the reproductions of these engines yet. So if you wanted a nice one of these to play with, you paid 15 or $100 or more for a nice one, or you bought a repainted one for 1,000, 1,200 bucks. So Bill's looking at it, it's 700. And I say to Bill, buy it, right? And he says, well, what's wrong with it? And I say, either the guy wants money desperately or he doesn't know what it's worth. But $700 is a killer deal on one of these, right? Today, the engine only be worth 500, 600 or less. But back then, they were worth more. So I told him to buy it, and he hemmed and hawed and said, well, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And while we were talking, guy came up, took the price tag off, and put a new tag on for $1,200. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, my friend here says that I had it underpriced. And so he marked it up. So if Bill had paid for it before the guy came up, he probably would have got to keep it for 700 and get a great deal. But his indecision, his inability to trust me as an expert when he's 75 years old and I'm a 28-year-old train collector who spent 16 years chasing after all this cool stuff. I don't know what the deal was, but that's one of the things. I never gave Bill advice again at another train meet, right? It was just, he wasted my time during that valuable time. And to further this up, at that convention, Paul Wasserman and I were going to lunch a little later. So this is Friday afternoon. And I said to Paul, did you see the Macy set? And Paul said, what Macy set? And I'm like, oh, there's a Macy set over there, $795. And it is beat up bad, right? These are trains specially made by Lionel for Macy's in the late 20s. And Paul said, oh, no, I paid 1,000 for mine. I didn't even get an observation. And I'll put a picture in here of the set. So Paul and I walked over to the set of trains, and the guy who was selling it was marking it down to $295. And Paul didn't even look at it or didn't even pick it up. He just looked down and goes, buy it. And I looked at him and I said, really? And he's like, buy it. And I'm like, okay. So I bought it, and we took it back to the table, to our tables, and then we went to lunch. And I kept that set of trains for that was 91. I sold it in 2012, and I never was able to upgrade it. And I got about $1,200 for it when I sold it in 2012. And that was, I respected Paul's opinion. He told me to buy the train that I was interested in, and I bought it. And that shows respect. A lot of times people ask for advice and they don't want it, All right, it's one thing to say, hey, I'd like to learn about 400s. Can you spend some time explaining them to me? And I learned a lot about trains by listening to the old collectors, sitting there and listening to them talk. The people like Clyde Easterly, Marty Fisnick, Ward Kimball, they just love to talk about their trains. I was fascinated by them. What's the guy's name? Petruzzo. I'll tell you a story about me going to Frank Petruzzo's house in one of these, and all of those old collectors. I would walk in with the enthusiasm, the love for the trains, and they would spend the time teaching me about them. All right. And so if you want to learn, fine, tell them you want to learn, but don't use the collector's time during that morning rush. Right. And if you're just bored, don't waste their time. All right. So I got more stories like this about learning how to be a better collector, learning how to interact with other collectors and train people. So follow me. If you like this, share it with the people on Facebook, Twitter, whatever you do. And thanks for watching. Hey, just a minute before you go. Let me tell you about my book. This book, How to Get a Constant Stream of People to Sell You Their Trains, right? This book built this. I ran ads in Penny Savers, Thrifty Nickel, all those little papers back in the 1970s when I was a little kid. Had my dad drive me around on Thursday night and on Saturday mornings, and then we'd go to the train meets. A lot of times we'd just go out, buy the trains, take them right to the train meet, never even take them home and sell them. Right? We keep what we wanted, sell what we didn't. The best of the stuff that we got, we'd set aside if we couldn't sell it locally, and we would take it to the train conventions with us. And then we'd put it out and we'd sell it and then use the money to buy this kind of stuff. Because you don't see these kind of trains in Arizona at the train show all that often, right? The big standard gauge, this stuff you did. But these Blue Comets, the really choice stuff, you rarely saw it. So what we would do was we'd save up the good stuff and then we'd go to the conventions and buy that, right? These trains came directly from buying them from the public, a lot of them, and then we also traded and got other ones, right? So that's this book. It's only $20. The link in the description of Amazon. One purchase with this book will pay for it. Right? I also have this book, How to Sell Antiques and Collectibles on eBay. This book has helped thousands, tens of thousands of people sell on eBay. This is only, I think it's either 10 or 14 bucks. It's a printed manual. It's updated in 2025, so it's all current with whatever eBay is doing now. And you read this. If you have a question while you're working on an eBay thing, you just open it up and look in this. If you think that eBay help menus and YouTube is going to help you sell trains or toys on eBay, you might be able to look on eBay in order to find the best category, right? This will show you how to do that. But don't trust eBay. You need to figure out how to do it yourself because you're the only one that has your interests at heart, all right? And then thirdly, this book, How to Write eBay Descriptions That Sell. You've seen the eBay descriptions with the AI and other stuff in them, just absolute crap, right? This will show you how to write a good description. Not only that, but it will show you how to find the keywords that you need. With these, to sell a Lionel train, you just put in there Lionel train, put it in the crane category. Anyone could do that. But what do you do when you have something that you don't know what it is? You use this book. It helps you figure out what you have, what category it goes in, what keywords you use. For $6, it's a hell of a deal. All right? So get these 3 books at Amazon and become a better train collector. Thank you.